How's it going, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode of Storytime, where I bring you behind the scenes of songs that I've made, or just give you a story from life in general, just for some good entertainment. So, for this episode, I'm going to talk about the last song that I released called Slow Ride, produced by Max Bressan, David Weatherspoon, and myself, with a good feature from my boy Gianni, aka Guido Papi. So, how the song started, I was at Max's Studio 404, with Max and David, and we were just kicking it, playing some music. And I remember I was sitting on the couch and I was like, you know, play me some beats because we had talked about, maybe producing some songs together or whatever. And so they played me a bunch, and there was three that really stuck out to me out of the few that they played. And they were all good, but these three were really my style. And out of those three, one was the beginning of Slow Ride. And I just remember hearing it and being like, yo, I think that was actually the first one they played. And I just remember being like, yo, I gotta have that. And what it was starting out was, it was the drum pattern, and it was like the chords, the like, dun, 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 the chord pattern, and the bass. And we ended up changing the sound for the bass, but it just, I loved it immediately. I was like, that's definitely something. So we got that, and I took it home. I got the stems, and I kind of rearranged everything. I changed the levels. The sound that you hear when it first comes in, that arpeggiator, I made that louder because I was just hidden in the background, and to me that was the best sound out of the entire beat. So I took that, moved that to the front, started the beat out with it, added a different type of bass, changed the 808 as well. So there's two basses. There's a really quiet bass on one of like the little bridge parts, or maybe it's a verse. So we got that going, and I tried to write to it for a while, and it wasn't quite coming, so I just kind of sat on it. And this is probably like a span of like 3 or 4 months from like when I first got the beat and then rearranged it and then recorded it at the studio. But once I had it arranged and a couple months went by, I ended up writing a sort of like freestyle part to it. And that eventually, that was just the first part that I kept coming back to, is that like, she said, call me when you come through. Like that part, like I just kept coming back to that. And after that one, it's like racing. Like I had some other weird part there, and I kept it for a really long time. And we were in the studio. Because when I went to record it originally, I asked Gianni to come in. I was like, yo, bro. Because I like to have him there because he has a very similar ear to me. So, does a little bit of co-writing, a little bit of like just bouncing ideas off. I'll be like, hey, like, how do you feel about this part? Like, should I change this? And so he came in and he was like, man, you got this open verse. I'd love to be on it. And I was like, at first I was like, I don't know, man. I'm sure like I'll come up with something for that part. Because, when you got a really good beat, a lot of times the first thing you think is like, oh man, I want to try all my ideas to this, because at that point in time, I had a lot of ideas. So, you know, we get going, we have a pretty good session, and I have this chorus part that comes after the "She Said Call Me When You Come Through," and it just sucked. It wasn't that good. It sounded cool, but overall the lyrics were just not up to par, and it was some weird stuff. So I'm just laughing at that part. It was pretty bad. And so a couple days go by, and I hit up Gianni again, and I'm like, yo, bro, I want you to be on the song. Because I really thought about it, and I was like, last time we collabed, it went amazing, so I'd love to do it again. And so he was like, bet, I'll be there at the next session. So I come back next week, I book with Eric again. I go in, and, he's got his part. Gianni's got his part going. And I'm like, I stand up, and I'm like, yo, we need to change this chorus part. And so I remember we're standing up, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I need another part. And then I just look at him, and I'm like, racing my heart, baby, you can take it. One condition, please don't break it. Take my time, please don't waste it. Don't waste it. Just like immediately right off the bat. And we're like, all right, bet, that's it. So I go in, track that part. And then he goes in for his verse. And I go in the booth with him because, I'm a micromanager when it comes to my songs, which is perfectly fine. And he's cool. He's cool with that. Like, we do things together. It's not like, bro, like, don't undermine my verse, bro, because I want him to make suggestions on my stuff, so I'm going to make suggestions on his. And right off the bat, of course, his part just sounded amazing. Just so fire. And so we cut it right there. And we sat on the song for a while, changed some mixing parts. And, moved some stuff around. And there you have what we have now. And I remember when I first heard that saxophone in the studio, I was just like, what? That shit's hard. So yeah, that's how Slow Ride came about. And I think I'm gonna do these for every song. I'm gonna backtrack and talk about all the other ones because this is actually really fun. All right, guys. I think that's it. Maybe I'll bang out another one. Talk about Stella or maybe Polaroid next. But thanks for listening, guys. That's the end of episode 1.
She said, call me when you come through. Windows down.